Escaping to the land, a privilege, not a solution. Trend of families and friends buying land as a supposed escape route, examining the privilege and pitfalls behind this mentality. The allure of land buying. Buying land with friends and family has been romanticized as the ultimate freedom move. It's often framed as building generational wealth and living off the grid. But this idea is steeped in privilege, not accessible to everyone. It's a mentality of every person for themselves, leaving vulnerable people behind. This approach is individualistic and avoids systemic issues. The generational wealth argument often overlooks the broader societal implications. Exploitation of animals and land. Large-scale land buying often involves animal agriculture. This leads to issues like desertification and habitat destruction. Animal farming contributes to many ecological destructive practices and biodiversity loss. Also sets the stage for potential infectious disease outbreaks. The irony lies in bringing cattle to lands like New Mexico, further damaging it. The destruction harms not just the landowners but everyone else too. The legacy of cattle colonization and environmental toil. The arrival of cattle with colonizers had a devastating impact, especially in places like New Mexico. Cattle grazing led to soil erosion, water scarcity, and widespread desertification. Yet, this modern escape mentality often includes the idea of raising cattle on purchased land. This not only ignores the historical impact but perpetuates a cycle of environmental degradation. The cattle industry is also a significant contributor to climate destruction and resource depletion. By continuing this practice, these communities are contributing to the very problems they claim to escape from. Animal agriculture as a form of imperialism. Imperialism isn't just about conquering lands, it's also about imposing ways of life. Animal agriculture standardizes food systems, erasing local, sustainable practices. It exploits resources without regard for long-term ecological balance. The industry often displaces indigenous communities, taking over lands for grazing or feed production. Its global supply chain concentrates wealth and power in the hands of a few. Essentially, adopting animal agriculture on escapist lands is a microcosm of larger systems of exploitation and control. Creating hierarchies. This escape to the land trend perpetuates social hierarchies. Those who managed to escape look down on those who couldn't. This reinforces capitalist flaws, concentrating resources among the privileged. It's an insidious form of colonialism, disguised as freedom. The consequences ripple out, affecting social dynamics far and wide. It ultimately fails to create an egalitarian society. Non-consenting servants. Those born into these landowner families didn't choose this lifestyle. They become servants to the vision of their family, a new form of generational hierarchy. This raises ethical questions about consent and free will. Is it fair to burden the next generation with maintaining this utopia? This form of generational wealth locks children into predetermined roles. It raises moral dilemmas that often go unaddressed. Environmental consequences. Buying land isn't just a social issue, it's an environmental one. Escaping to the land isn't escaping from climate calamities. This method only exacerbates the environmental issues we all face. It's a short-term solution for those who can afford it, but a long-term problem for everyone. We should aim for solutions that are collective, not just for the privileged few. The irony of generational wealth. Generational wealth in this context becomes a euphemism for hoarding resources. It's a false promise of a long-term security at the cost of societal stability. By focusing solely on family wealth, broader economic issues are ignored. This is not building wealth, it's perpetuating inequality. It's an illusion of progress, masking the perpetuation of societal issues. If the goal is truly wealth for future generations, the focus should be on collective well-being. So, from the fallacy of generational wealth to the darker implications of animal agriculture, we've deconstructed the myths surrounding the buy land to escape mentality. Our focus should be on collaborative, sustainable solutions, not privileged escapes that exacerbate existing problems.